Hello, guys, and welcome to Ruben's History Show. Today, I am going to talk about the Berlin Wall, which was a wall that was located in the Berlin, which was built in 1961, and it came down in 1989 when the people of West Germany tore down the Berlin Wall, and then that brought an end to the Berlin Wall in 1980, November 9th, 1989, when the people of West Germany tore down the wall. So before I go into the how the Berlin Wall was built, I'm going to talk about the events that led to the Berlin Wall being built in Berlin. So if you remember, by 1945, that was the time when World War II ended. That was when the Allies beated Nazi Germany, and when the United States dropped two atomic bombs on Japan, on in August. One was on August 6th, and then one was on August 9th of 1945. And so, but before the war ended, it was at the Yalta conference. There was the three leaders of the Allies. It was Joseph Stalin, who was the chairman of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and it was Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was the president of the United States, and it was Winston Churchill, who was the prime minister of the United Kingdom. So these three men met in Yalta, which is in Ukraine, and they met to discuss about the future of the post-war Europe, of how Europe was going to be after the war in Europe was finished. So by 1945, the Allies beated Nazi Germany, and the Nazi Germany dissolved. It broke down because the Germans surrendered. And after that, the Allies took control of the Germany. The East was given to the Soviet Union, or the USSR, and the West was given to the United States, France, and Britain. So those four allies had control of Germany, and the East would later become East Germany, which would become the German Democratic Republic, while the West became the Federal Republic of Germany, or the FRG, and the GDR is West is East Germany, which is the Democratic Republic of Germany, the German Democratic Republic. So the German Democratic Republic was communism, and West Germany was capitalism. So capitalism is which everything is owned privately by private owners, and then communism is which everything is owned by everybody in the country. So that's the difference between communism and capitalism. So, if you remember, by the 50s, the Germans, people from East Germany, was going into the West because they wanted to see their families. That's why they left the East Germany, and they started going to the West. And so a lot of factories were missing a lot of people because German people were leaving the factories, and they were afraid that the whole population of East Germany was going to flee to the West. And so by 1961, August 13th, 1961, was the time when the government of the Soviet Union built a wall over Berlin, and that separated the people of East Germany and West Germany. So they've been separated for almost 30 years, from 1961 to 1986, 89. So they were separated for almost 33 decades. That was a long time they were separated for. And so, and if people attempted to cross the wall into the West Germany, into the West border, people would be shot by the Germans who were guarding the wall during that period. And so they would be shot if they would go into the western border of Germany. And so people had to take a hot air balloon if they wanted to get across the wall. And so, and then they had to go get in a hot air balloon if they wanted to get over the wall and go into the West Germany. and a lot of people had to go underground. They had to dig tunnels to get under the wall of the Berlin Wall, and so they had to get under there, and other people had to because those were the only options. You couldn't just climb over the wall because you'll be shot, and you could not do that, and then you will be dead. And so the wall was built in 1961. So that means that was built under the leadership of Nikita Khrushchev, who was the leader of the USSR from 1953 to 1964 when he was removed by Leonid Brezhnev, which meant that Brezhnev became the new leader of Soviet Union after the removal of Nikita Khrushchev. So over thousands of Germans were killed because they attempted to flee the border from the East Germany all the way to the West Germany, and thousands of Germans were killed while trying to. And so, and then by what was it? By I think some people tried to one person tried to jump over the wall from their house, but then he got shot, I believe, and then he died. This was between 1961 or 1962. This was. And then a lot of people were killed while attempting to flee to the East Germany to the West Germany. And so the people in the West Germany called the Berlin Wall, the fascist movement. The fascist movement, I believe it was, or the fascist wall. That's what the people of West Germany called the Berlin Wall. And so, but before that, people managed to escape from the East Germany before the Berlin Wall was built in 1961. So, and then later on, 30 years later, the Berlin Wall was destroyed by the people of West Germany when the West Germans tore down the wall of Berlin, and then it was a big celebration in the Germany, or in the West Germany, and people were celebrating. They're celebrating because they've been separated from their families for 30 years. So they've been separated for a long period of time. This took place on November 9th, 1989, and a lot of German families were very happy to see their families. And a lot of German families were very happy to see them because they didn't see them for a long time because they were separated for 30 years. And so that's why they were happy, because they were separated for a long time. And so and then the next year at 1990 was the time when Germany reunified. That was when Germany became a single Germany. And then there was no more East and West Germany because those two countries dissolved. So today, present day, or modern day, or today, it's now Germany. So it's no longer East Germany or West Germany. And so, and then there's actually pieces of the Berlin Wall in Germany today. It's in a museum, I believe. And they have there's this paint. It's not a painting. It was someone. I think it was spray paint, I believe. It was the Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev kissing the East German counselor Erich Honecker, I believe it was. He was kissing Leonid Brezhnev, and there's a lot of famous pictures of it on Google. You could see it, and it has pictures of him kissing Brezhnev. And those were one of the jokes, and those were one of the Soviet political jokes, and during that time, and it's still used today. So that was the Berlin Wall, which lasted from 1961 all the way to 1989. So it just lasted for 30 years, and that was built under the leadership of Nikita Khrushchev, and that all the way lasted to the rule of Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev, who became the leader of the Soviet Union in 1985, shortly after the death of Konstantin Chernenko, who died in that same year in 1985. So, and then also Ronald Reagan gave a speech to Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down the Berlin Wall. He said to Gorbachev in the speech, it was in 1987, he was in the West Germany and the West Berlin, and he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." And that's what he said to Gorbachev while he was in the West Germany. And that was also the West Berlin. And that was also the same time when the Soviet-Afghan War took place. And then in 2 years later, the war would end in 1989. That would be the same year when the Berlin Wall would come down, and when a bunch of other communist countries came down as well. Like, for example, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Albania, and Romania, and a bunch of other communist countries would fall and would break apart, and they would fall to capitalism. And that would be known as the revolution of 1989. So that brought an end to communism. And then by 1991 was the time when the Soviet Union dissolved. That was when Soviet Union broke down, and then it became Russia and the other 15 republics of the former Soviet Union. And so that brought an end to the Cold War. And then now, only today, the United States is the only superpower in the world today. It's no longer Soviet Union, because Soviet Union dissolved. Now the United States is the only superpower today. So, yep, I hope you enjoyed this video on the Berlin Wall and what details I told you in this video. So please drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. До свидания, goodbye.